Hey guys, Taylor here. I hope you're enjoying a great time out in California and you're enjoying the time spent with each other. I saw that you visited Stanford, and I know that was a cool experience down there. And it's just a privilege to be back with you, even if it is just on video. But I thought I would kind of do a wrap up of this year. You know, that's what's typically done at the end of the year. Everybody always does recaps, but I thought it was important just touch on a few things as we wrap up this year and this portion of the season and move into next year. Just to remind you about some of the things that we talked about. So one of the first things that I hope that I imparted on you that first day when I was in your locker room is how important names are. You know, when I spent the time to learn your names and call you by name, I got some feedback that showed you guys that I cared about you. And I hope you saw firsthand how important names are. And I appreciate Amelia and Maggie for being good sports about me mixing up their names. So we don't have to be perfect. But we really put in the effort to learn names. I think it's important. We, of course, then went into servanthood. That was our first topic. And one of the first things that I talked about servanthood was why it was important. And there are a few things stuck out to me. But one of the most important ones was that serving is really the only path to long-term freedom and fulfillment. I mean, we can do short-term things that make us happy, that maybe provides temporary fulfillment, but there's just something about serving others that really provides that long-term freedom and long-term fulfillment. So that was one of the whys to why servanthood is important. Another one was, God gifted you uniquely. And He did not give you those gifts to solely serve yourself. He gave you those unique gifts for you to serve others and for the benefit of others. So I want you to remember that as you contemplate your own unique gifts, the uniquenesses that you bring to your team, that it's not just for you, it's for them too. So that was another one of the whys for servanthood. Another thing we talked about, if you'll remember, I said that if you think that you're too big for the small stuff, then I wanted to tell you that you're too small for the big stuff. If you think you're too important to do those petty little tasks, then when the time comes and you're going to be asked to do the big things, you're going to be too small for those. So just one of the little, funny little catchphrases I always like to say and to help you remember. If you're too big for the small stuff, then you are certainly too small for the big time moments in the big stuff. That was another thing we talked about. Then as it came to some relationship things about servanthood, that it's important that you seek to understand the other person before you want to be understood. So many times we want to listen to people with the intent to reply, rather than intently listening to them with the intent to understand. I think it's very transparent when somebody is just looking to rebut everything that you say. So it's important that you seek first to understand that other person before you want them to try to understand where you're coming from or to be understood. One of the many things that we talked about was also for your time there at Olivet, for it to be a time that you leave a legacy of servanthood and not just seniority. I think so many programs around the country, or even just not just sports programs, but work environments, all types of things. There's always about seniority. I've paid my dues. It's all about I should be first because I've been here the longest. And those types of approaches, that approach isn't what servanthood is all about. Servanthood is doing whatever it takes whenever it takes. And that's what I want to encourage you guys to do, especially you older young ladies. That's crazy. You older young ladies. Okay, you get the point. You know where I'm going with that. That I want you to leave a legacy of servanthood, not of seniority. One of the things that we wrapped up that conversation the next day with, and I wrote it up on your board, was as we talked about serving others and how we could interact with each other. You guys know that every day I do a text message program and post on social media, and it always starts with hashtag today I will. And it's just a way to make a commitment to myself and to help others embrace a commitment that just makes yourself better. And one of the ones that I wrote on your board, if you'll remember, was today I will not leave the locker room mad. Because obviously anytime we get around 16, 17, 18 other folks around the team, we can have a little friction. But that's okay. That's natural. But the key is that we don't leave the locker room mad. We don't take those things and let that start affecting our lives outside of the locker room, but also that we don't harbor that and then bring it back into the locker room the next day. So today I will not leave the locker room mad. So I want to remind you of that. The other thing that you guys wanted to focus on, if you'll remember during the first video conference, we talked about elevating others. And how can we elevate others, not just within our locker room, but those outside the locker room. And you guys had some great ideas. And what I think is so cool about those ideas is you didn't just talk about them, you did them. If you'll remember me talking before, I said, knowledge isn't power. Knowledge is not power. You've probably heard that before, but I'm here to change that paradigm and to give you something new. That knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. It's only power when you do something with it. And that's what I was so impressed with you guys with elevating others and serving others. I remember Kindness Week. I still have the pictures from the Post-it notes that were posted around campus. C's idea about that I thought was so good, and you guys embraced it and took it as your own, and Tiger Ball represented servanthood and kindness on the campus. I thought that was outstanding. Also, you guys talked about going and visiting your local high school and watching them play and encouraging them, and you did it. I remember seeing the pictures from that as well. So I'm just really, really proud to see you guys put servanthood into action. Another thing that you talked about, that one of your teammates was down, and that was Kyra, and you guys talked about doing a care package to her and FaceTiming her, and I know you did that. And also, you even served me. I remember I still have every one of my cards, index cards that you guys wrote on, and the note that you wrote on it to me, and even just last week with the Christmas card was so awesome. So you guys know how to elevate others. You know how to serve others, and I'm just really fired up and proud of you for that. Keep going. Keep going with that. Oh, let's see. Then we moved, if you'll remember, we moved into a uncomfortable time, and it was building relationships. And this was it was my idea to make you guys feel uncomfortable, because I thought that you needed to build your relationships a step deeper, a layer deeper. And so that's when Coach and I came up with the questions that we put together for you guys to ask. And if you'll remember, Coach and myself and Steph were that panel that first time. And I just think it's so important to get to know your teammates on a much deeper level. If you're going to serve them, you got to know more about them than just what hometown they're from and what the mascot was of their high school team. Asking deeper questions that are hard to answer, but it's important that you know the answers to those questions, and that you talk about it as well, that you can share those things. I don't think you guys realize that some of you have some significant struggles. I'm not going to back away from it. I've enjoyed talking with you about it. But the other thing I want to tell you is you're not alone in that locker room. I don't know where you're watching this right now, But if you were to look around at each other, you share struggles. But if you don't talk about them, if you don't open up, and if you're not vulnerable about that, you're going to feel alone. And when you feel alone, you feel isolated, and you start being negative, and just all the other things I could talk about with that. So that's the reason it's so important to get to know your teammates on a deeper level and to be vulnerable. Let's see. I also challenged each of you to get with another teammate over lunch or coffee, and I know you guys did it. Again, when we talk about taking action on some of the lessons that we're learning or being reminded of, you guys did a great job on that, and I want to continue to challenge you to do that. You don't know everything that you need to know about your teammates and your coaches. Don't forget your coaches. Their coaches' lives matter. I'm kidding, but don't forget them. And coaches to coaches, I'm talking to you too, for you guys to know each other on a deeper level. Obviously, I know you've coached together for a while and you know each other, but I'm sure that there's things below the surface that could create tighter bonds amongst you that would make you better servants of each other, but enable you to serve your team better too. So that.